Hey, how's it going, guys, and welcome back. So recently I've been discussing with a few people here and there about the monster taming genre, its community, and which games seem to get the most attention versus the games that don't, at least with regards to this community specifically. Now, after talking to a few of the developers with a wide array of games from Pokemon-like experiences to SMT-esque experiences to wildly different games that still fall under the monster taming umbrella altogether, one thing seems to ring true, that being the fact that in general it seems like the Pokemon-like games receive the most amount of attention from the community. Now, that being said, I actually think this makes a lot of logical sense. Myself and many others within the genre are Pokemon fans who are looking for a new fix, so of course if a game like Coromon or Nexomon rolls around, we're gonna be more inclined to check it out. However, I do oftentimes see comments from people about how much they love Shin Megami Tensei or other franchises like it that do have indie games that are somewhat inspired by them, and I think we as a community need to make an extra effort to support these non-Pokemon-esque games if we're gonna continue to see innovation within the genre. If every time a new game that looks dope comes around and someone says, oh, well, that's cool, but I wish it had more similar combat to Pokemon, or that's cool, but it has this one random thing that's slightly different from the norm without actually trying said games and giving them the time of day, will also be no better than those who allow the perpetual state of stagnation that the recent Pokemon titles have been cursed with. Monster taming games in general aspire to be more than just Pokemon-like games, or Pokemon clones as they're sometimes referred to them as. And if we want to see a change made in the rhetoric surrounding the community from the outside, then supporting games that innovate and take what a lot of people think is the standard for monster taming games and turning it on its head is the optimal move to make. Then when people throw around the Pokemon clone rhetoric, it'll be completely laughable to the point where their credibility is tarnished at the mere idea that that makes sense. Take Cassette Beast, for example. If someone were to call Cassette Beast, say, a Pokemon clone, which has happened, with all of the innovation that it has, and with the only real similarity being the fact that you can utilize monsters in turn-based combat, then you know that person's just full of it and didn't actually play the game. It's games like these that need extra support, in my opinion, because they take monster taming and the genre in general in a new and creative direction, whilst also staying true to what the genre is all about, which is the utilization and execution of monsters in combat or as companions. We have several other games in the genre that are really seeming to mix things up, like games such as Mythcaller the Nightmare Shaman, which combines platforming and collectathon elements to monster taming, the Shin Megami Tensei inspired games such as Pry Into the Void, which honestly is just a great branch of inspired games. I'd love to see more games inspired by SMT or even like Dragon Quest Monsters, Monster Rancher, etc. You have games like Nanokin that take platforming and mix it with grid-based combat, and the list goes on and on and on. The point I'm trying to make here is that if we perpetuate more games like this and get them the attention that they deserve, it'll continue to raise the bar for what's considered innovative and new in the genre, especially if you're someone that feels like a lot of the games are too similar to Pokemon, because sure, while some of the most popular games such as Temtem, Coromon, Nexomon, etc. do follow Pokemon quite closely, this is by no means the vast majority of games that exist, and there are tons of monster taming games that do things completely differently as well. They just don't get the spotlight that they deserve. Now, that being said, don't get it twisted, Pokemon-like games are awesome too, and honestly, they do a lot for showcasing what could be done in a Pokemon-style game based on what the fans want. One thing that immediately comes to mind is all these games that have been adding Nuzlocke and randomizer modes, something that the Pokemon company hasn't even done. So I do think that these games are also very important to hold Pokemon accountable and also act as a great first step into non-Pokemon monster taming games, since again, I do think that the vast majority of Mon fans are coming from Pokemon, whether it be to supplement their Pokemon fix or to completely move over. So basically this video is like a short PSA to support some of the innovation within the genre. I may put together an innovative games list or something like that. I do have a video linked below which discusses games that are not like Pokemon, since a lot of people have said that there's so many Pokemon-like games and not enough that aren't, which again isn't true if you talk about sheer numbers, but definitely consider checking that out. And if you do want to stay up to date on the genre, definitely make sure to subscribe to the channel for the latest monster taming news, reviews, discussions, guides, breakdowns, and more. And you could also check out my Patreon to get some extra perks like being featured at the end screen or a shout out like these people. Special thanks to Jim Hamilton, Dro Ghost, Dark Persona Exodus, and Candy Morency for going that extra mile, and we will see you guys next time. Peace.